All right, Joe Tacopina joins us now. He is the former president's attorney, and sir, it's good to have you on tonight.
Thanks, Rob.
Are they really going to indict the former president for this?
You know, every day it looks more and more like that's going to happen. I've been holding out hope because I understand the law and the facts here.
Yeah.
And there's not even a bad act, let alone a crime. If there is a bad act in this case, it's by someone who is threatening to go to the media unless they're paid $130,000.
Right.
To silence a story, which is normally called extortion.
Yeah.
But here it's just different. And I have to say, all decent people, whether politically opposed to Donald Trump or in favor or supportive of his candidacy, really should be concerned about this weaponizing of a prosecutor's office to pursue a political opponent or prevent them from running. I mean, that's what you have here, Rob, and that's what's really frightening to me. It's horrifying. I've never seen anything like this. And just today, Jim Jordan's House Judicial Committee sent a demand letter to DA Bragg. They want his testimony. And they sent a very scathing letter about this appearing to be nothing but a political persecution. And when we start using our justice system to pursue political opponents, we're like those other countries you just mentioned.
Right.
We're not what we used to be. We didn't do this here. And the pendulum swings both ways, right? I mean, right now it's a Democrat in office going after the leading Republican candidate right now. In 10 years, it could be a Republican in office going after a Democratic candidate. But that's where we're heading with this. And it's something I just never thought I'd see in our lifetime.
We're hearing reports that there could be an arraignment taking place next week, possibly that is virtual. I don't know if you can speak to that. I mean, I had this idea in my head that they'd be dumb enough to, if he were indicted, to actually try and cuff him and walk him, because then we could really see how far we've devolved in this country.
I think that's what they're going to try to do.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I think they're going to use. Look, this is a grandstand. This is a political grandstand. There are people inside that district. It's the stupidest grandstand that you could possibly do. It's going to stain this district attorney's legacy.
Right.
We will win this case, Rob. You could replay this in a year from now.
Yeah.
When this case is said and done, we will win this case, either on the law or on the facts, with the jury or not. What they're counting on is a New York jury saying, we can never acquit Donald Trump, because he's not very popular in this city.
Right.
I have much more faith in New York jurors. I've made my living in front of New York jurors, both as a prosecutor and defense attorney.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this. A New York jury wants to be able to go home and look themselves in the mirror at the end of the day and wake up feeling good about what they did. And they'll understand the severity of this verdict. This is something that, if it makes it that far, I think will be a clear vindication of President Trump.
I know that the defense that you guys have is that this is extortion, that it never happened. I think a lot of people out there maybe don't believe that. In my opinion, no matter what the situation is, even if the affair happened and the payoff happened, I think it's an outrageous case.
Oh, it's still not a crime, even if the affair, and the president vehemently denies it, but even if it happened and the payoff was made, and there was a payoff made, make no mistake about that. I mean, that's not a fact in dispute. There was Michael Cohen took out a loan to pay this person off because he wanted to really ensure that he was very close to Donald Trump, and he did everything. And the Michael Cohen today is a very different one than the one that was on TV years ago, saying what a great human being Donald Trump was, right? And he wanted to be his fixer. He wanted to be the guy that was important to him. He wasn't. He was a nothing. He was a nothing lawyer, and he was someone who was trying to ingratiate himself to the president. So a payment was made. And that's it. But understand this: when we talk about whether this is a campaign law violation, it's not even close. This is a federal campaign, and the statutes are very clear. There's two tests, and two critical tests. One was it campaign funds or personal funds. Here, it was personal funds. It wasn't campaign funds. If this were a campaign, donation, it would be used. Campaign funds would be used to pay it off.
Right.
It's not like the John Edwards case, where those were campaign funds used to pay off his mistress and the mother of his child in a separate house by a donor.
Yeah.
So it's personal funds. One. Two, and this is really the bright line test for the Federal Election Committee and for campaign finance laws. Would the payment or payment made or the expenditure have been made by that candidate irrespective of the campaign? And the answer to that is clearly yes. Even Michael Cohen, when he pled guilty under oath, said he was doing this in part to prevent his family from going through personal embarrassment, himself going through personal embarrassment, protect his young child. Okay? So if that would have been done for that reason, and that's why it was paid with personal funds.
Right. it's astonishing to me that we've devolved to a point where after all that they've done to this man, and I mean, it's been a long 6-7 years for him in this kind of public eye, this is what they came up with. It's embarrassing. 3
years they've scoured this man's life,
right?
His personal life, his business life. 3 years, and they came up with this case that's resurrected from the dead, that the Manhattan District Attorney's Office put into the grand jury several years ago, and then pulled it out, and said this case is nothing.
If I'm former President Trump, it's weird to say, but I think I'd want to be perp walked. Like let's show people what they're capable of, and I think it's huge ammunition, and I think it's exposing just how sick these people are.
Rob,
to do something like that.
You know, you're funny. He's a very tough guy. And he's the toughest
guy. He doesn't care about a
perp
walk. He doesn't care about handcuffs.
He will use that to embolden his supporters.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a political persecution. Alvin Bragg lets people go for violent crimes and with a slap on the wrist.
Right.
Nonviolent crimes, I mean, he sent out a memo in his office. They were going to be prosecuting a lot of nonviolent crimes.
Right.
But this to them is everything. This would be like, capturing Don Dillinger to them. And it's not what our system's supposed to be about. So I think they're going to do everything they can do to try and embarrass him, which is going to further embolden his supporters. I think this will catapult him into the White House. I really do.
And I think it's going to do exactly what they don't want it to do, is what I think. Joe Tacopina, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
All right.